Folks, welcome back to another episode of Mayhem in the Midsouth. Today, Houston killer comes to Baton Rouge. A man on death row for strangling and killing a woman in Texas was now going to be facing charges of murder in Louisiana. It seems this fella, through DNA, was tied into what the media referred to as the notorious 1999 murder there in Baton Rouge. Now, the suspect has now been linked to the death of the victim, Cassie Federer. Now, little Cassie was going to LSU. She was majoring in psychology. She was 19 years old. She was found shot to death in her apartment over there near the City Brooks Park. Now, that was September 13th of 1999. Now, for almost 2 decades, the police had continued to look at this case. Now, at the time that little Cassie was killed, according to the resource material, there were 2 serial killers roaming the streets of Baton Rouge, so the city was on high alert. Now, according to the police, they said the crime scene was relatively organized. Little Cassie was attacked while she was coming home from school. She had actually gotten into her apartment. Now, the apartment wasn't ransacked, but somebody had kicked in the front door. The victim was fully clothed. According to the police, it seemed as if the victim was obviously trying to escape the attacker. Now, they said she was found near a portable phone. Only thing missing was her backpack. Now, her dog was found inside of a bedroom, and the lights were on inside the apartment. Now, what police are theorizing is the victim was running to try to pick the phone up so she could call 911. Obviously, she didn't make it. Now, this suspect down in Texas, he's on death row for murdering another 19-year-old. Now, this was down there in Houston. Now, that homicide, sexual assault, occurred about 11 days before little Cassie was murdered. Now, the suspect, he got locked up, tried and convicted based on DNA evidence. Now, Baton Rouge police, they said during their news conference that DNA that they were finally able to get a match on also tied the suspect into their case. Now, there was a glove found on the scene, and they swabbed the inside of that glove. That's where they got the DNA. And an eyewitness that saw a man within the apartment complex that fit the suspect's description just prior to the shooting. So Baton Rouge police, they issued an arrest warrant for the suspect for first-degree murder and aggravated burglary. Now, this suspect would be considered could be considered a serial killer. He's been tied to 3 homicides by DNA. Now, the first one in 1988, a lady named Margaret McGinnis. She was 82 years old. She was attacked in her home in the 1800 block of Crocker. Suspect came through the victim's bedroom window, barricaded the door from the inside, sexually assaulted and then strangled to death Miss Margaret. Now, by the time they were able to solve this case with Miss Margaret, the suspect was already on death row for killing the young lady who was also from Houston. So Texas authorities decided not to charge him again. That would be the only reason you couldn't consider this fella a serial killer, not officially. Now, Miss Margaret, her case was reopened in August of 2006 by the cold case squad there in Houston. Now, they were able to send some items for testing from the crime scene, checked it through DNA, and they got a match with the suspect. And again, they're not going to file another set of charges go through another trial for a man that's on death row. Now, September 2nd, 1999, young lady in Houston, Kristen Loesch, 19, she was found dead on the floor of her bedroom. Now, a neighbor told police she'd seen a male black wearing a ball cap entering the apartment at about 7:30 in the morning. Now, I don't know how he got into the apartment, but if he was climbing through a window, it makes you wonder why the neighbor didn't call the police. But I don't have all the facts, so I don't know exactly how he entered the apartment. Now, the victim and her boyfriend, allegedly, they knew this suspect because they had bought dope from him. So the boyfriend was able to identify the fellow they'd been buying dope from. Now, the police locked the suspect up. They took hair and blood samples, and they got a match. According to the assistant medical examiner in Harris County, Miss Loesch had been sexually assaulted, strangled, and there were signs of blunt force trauma. Now, DNA samples were recovered from her vaginal area and her fingernails, and they matched the suspect. Now, I don't know if Louisiana is going to try to extradite that suspect from Texas to have him stand trial or not. I wouldn't think we would. That'd be something you'd want to do, but I can't say for certain. And I haven't seen any information that indicated he is going to be extradited. But at least it allows the family of Cassie Federer some knowledge of who's responsible for killing their loved one.